Hey, good morning, everybody. I like my beer. Anyways, Mike Shea, your Florida business broker. And what I'm going to start doing of late when I have some downtime is memorializing some information that I gather as a broker specific to businesses I deal with on a regular basis. So here in Florida, heavy service sector. The market is comprised of generally, 10 or 12 verticals. But there's restaurants that makes up about 20% of it. The service sector makes up about 35% of it. We don't have a lot of manufacturing here in Central Florida. We do have transport, logistics, and some heavy digital space. Yet they have not yet come to market with business brokers as of yet, but they will at some point as they start to recognize the value of it. But today we're going to talk about the vacation rental industry and property management, specifically because we sell a ton of them. Here in Orlando, there's about, right in the Disney corridor, there's an area called the Four Corners, which is where Lake County, Orange County, Polk County, and Osceola County combine. And there is a area that's laid out under code for short-term rental, which is basically hotels in houses like you'd see at the beach when you rent a property. The business started some 25 years ago here and has grown. And in the last 10, I think everybody knows about VRBO, HomeAway, et cetera, et cetera. But the business has always been strong here and thrived. I got involved with it probably 10, 11 years ago, right in the heat of the recession. Because you just can't ignore a large part of the market. And as a consequence, I've probably sold 100 of them. When I first started doing it, I came with perceptions like anybody would. And over the years, having done multiple ones, I've learned that there is many ways to run these things as there are fingers and toes, and not one of them is right or wrong. And the types of consumers or guests or people who have need for homes or places to stay during vacation runs the gamut from the little old couple that's coming down for the snow season in the north, and they're going to spend 6 months, to the family from Brazil, England, Japan, Russia, Saudi Arabia, you name it, to the Americans, to baseball teams for spring training, et cetera, et cetera. All of them have value, all of them have money, and there's a way to make money on all of them. But what I wanted to put down here in a video was information for people who are considering buying them, to give them a little bit of an overview on the industry. If you ever sat down in my office, you get a chance to look at this. There's a thing called the reference guide. It's available from the Business Brokerage Press. And I don't recommend you spend $100 on it, but inside of it is information like what you see here that breaks down key information regarding the industry. Now, with regard to property management, you're not going to have to buy it because I'm the guy who wrote the section, and I'm going to share with you some statistics and some margin numbers, et cetera, so you're reasonably dangerous with regard to how do you do valuation on a property management company. So here's how the deal works. There are 5 core revenue streams in vacation rental. I'm going to show you what that looks like on my wall here. But there's a management fee, full service, there's lawn services, there's cleaning fees, there's pest control, and then there's commissions and markups. So I didn't mean 5, there's actually 7, but the markup's not consistent. With regard to the standard fees, so here's how it works. Homeowner A goes to property manager B and says, hey, I need you to manage my home. What normally happens is there's going to be a management fee. That runs about $100 a month. The lawns, the pools, the cleaning of the homes post every guest has to occur on a monthly basis or whenever the guest arrives. But the pool, the lawn, those happen every month. Sometimes you'll see the companies will have them in-house. Sometimes they will outsource it. In any regard, if you're outsourcing it, what happens is the pool guy is charging the property manager $60 and the property manager is charging the homeowner, I don't know, 80, 90, something like that. Same thing goes for lawns. Same thing goes for cleans. There's always a markup. Now, with regard to cleaning, the size of the house dictates the rate that gets charged. So if it's a 3-bedroom, it'll be one rate, of 4, another 5, et cetera, et cetera. And that is always done post-clean, and the homeowner pays for it, unless the stay is less than 4 days, in which case usually the guest will pay an extra fee on top. Then there's the commission rate. The commission is on the booking rate. So if you're a good property manager and you have the ability to get guests, and you're not relying on a tour operator to put beds or heads in beds, your commissions run anywhere between 15 to 35% at the height, depending upon the time of year in the season and the rate that's booked. So what's really cool about this business is it is not hard when you have Mickey Mouse in your backyard, and Mickey has done a decent job of filling the down times, times like September, October, when traditional holidays like Easter and Christmas aren't around, filling them with specialized events like I don't know, Halloween Horror Nights or Mickey's Very Scary Halloween, or the International Food Festival at Epcot. Those types of events drive traffic to the park, and the property managers subsequently live off that as well during the down season. So now, where we used to see 2 to 3 months during a year there was a downtime, there really generally isn't. On top of that, the international nature of Orlando offsets any of the swings that we used to see, because different countries have different times off, different holidays, etc. So just those are your core revenue streams. There are about 18,000 vacation homes out there, which seems like a lot. And there's probably north of 700 property management companies. The average property management company probably has 25 to 30 homes. It's probably run by a husband and wife team. Normally, a husband and wife team can handle the pools and the lawns up to about 25 homes. After that, they start subcontracting the basic rote services like pool and lawn to other companies, and then just taking the markup. Once you get to around 40, people trying to stop and hold there, or they get big. So you go from 40, then you go to 70. Once you go to 70, you tend to stay there because you're making $1 million. You're grossing about $1 million. You're easily making $250,000 if you're running the business properly, and you're pretty content. If you're not content at that number, then you really got to go to 130, 140, because the added number that always gets handed up is incremental staff to manage service to the same level consistently throughout the ebbs and flows. And what you have to understand in this business is, as much as you try and stabilize it, something will all go wrong. You're dealing with people in a hospitality industry. So Christmas, Easter, spring break, those are peak seasons. Things go wrong. Flights don't come in on time. Arrivals, departures, people leave their homes. It gets to be chaotic. Don't let anybody tell you that the business is easy. It is a business of blocking and tackling that requires a consistent mindset and a great deal of organization. The industry has evolved. There's some really, really good softwares out there like LiveRes and Cyrus that facilitates a lot of the automation. You can now manage air conditioning controls, pool heaters from your cell phone. You have the ability to turn things on and off remotely, give people access to a house remotely, change door codes remotely, which has eliminated some of the what I would call headaches of the business formerly existing 10 or 20 years ago. But at the end of the day, you're still dealing with consumers. Now, from evaluation, margins always hold there in this business because it's real stable. You don't require a ton of working capital in this business, because generally what happens is a homeowner accrues a balance of money in their operating account here in the US. And if you have questions of what that means, we'll talk offline about it. But that money is usually kept at a certain balance so that you can do repairs and maintain the property as you go forward as a property manager. But highly attractive industry to people overseas because of the cash flow dynamic. You're not requiring a ton of reserves to run it. These are generally run from the home. I've seen up to 75 homes run from a house. Not optimal, obviously, at that level, but it's pretty common to see. And being home-based, having steady cash flow is highly attractive. So it's not a business where you're going to be able to come in and buy low and leverage somebody. There's a huge amount of demand for these companies. Where it's not uncommon for me to get multiple offers on a deal at any one time. I got 2 on a deal right now. exit during a transition, and that's because of that money that's held in operation. If you're a homeowner and you're overseas, it may be a change in management, but there could be 7 to 8 months of future bookings sitting on the books for your property. It's real hard to walk away from. So, not going to see a real flip when you transition. Some things, the multiples they usually sell at, generally a 2 to a 2.5 multiple on seller's discretionary earnings. When you get below $100,000 in cash flow, it still holds close to a 2, maybe about a 1.8, but it's still damn close to a 2. You can expect a small note from the seller, maybe 10 to 20%, but realize it's a discriminator, and that somebody will pay all cash for it. Usually $60,000 to $90,000 in revenue per employee. The cost of goods is really 60% of the total revenue. That majority of that is what's going back to a homeowner. As you scale the business, that percentage of cost of goods will go up. But remember, for you take $100,000 in bookings, probably 70% or 65% of that is going back to the homeowner. You're taking the remaining gross margin as your net. Payroll is usually proportionally pretty low until you get north of that 70 home mark, and the occupancy is really, really low. You can run these things from a 900-foot office. You don't require a ton of retail. The business is booming. Unless you're coastal, there is obviously in the the older communities and the beach communities some pressure with regard to normal homeowners and being proximate to vacation rentals. But here in Central Florida, since they got on top of this 20 years ago, and it's intrinsic to our industry here of tourism, you're not going to see any pressure from the government. Now, it is not allowed in residential neighborhoods like Lake Nona or Hunters Creek. You'll see people trying to do it, but you look up the statutes specifically legislated against. You have to be in certain zip codes, and it's basically Orange, Osceola County, right around Disney. The best map to look at for that type of data would be the VRBO website, and you'll see it color-coded where the geography is allowed it. VRBO HomeAway are not competitors to this industry. They are tools that are used by property managers and homeowners alike. The industry is booming and continues to grow. There's still construction going on. It flows with Mickey Mouse and Harry Potter. They are not adversaries. They use this business because they don't have enough hotels to fit the 70 million people that visit Central Florida. Highly attractive on the resale value for this business. And the bigger the cash flow, the higher the multiple. So that's our little snippet on property management. If you have any questions, feel free to call me 321-287-0349 or visit my website, www.yourfloridabusinessbroker.com.